400 years ago, a man from a small English town sat down and wrote plays that have never stopped being performed. William Shakespeare was not a philosopher or a scientist. He was a practical man of the theater, an actor, a businessman, a writer who needed to fill seats. And yet what he wrote about the human heart has never been surpassed. He wrote about kings and soldiers, about love and betrayal, about ambition and guilt, and he understood all of it with a clarity that still makes audiences catch their breath. 4 of his plays stand above the rest. For mirrors, each one showing a different face of what we are. Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, written within 6 years of each other, between 1600 and 1606, for plays about 4 men who destroy themselves, not because of bad luck or fate, but because of something inside them, something they could not control. Indecision, jealousy, pride, ambition. These are not ancient flaws. They're the 4 things that most often destroy a human life. Today, in every country, in every family, in every person who has ever looked in a mirror and seen someone they did not fully recognize. Hamlet is a prince who knows the truth. His father has been murdered. The murderer sits on the throne. Justice demands action, and yet he hesitates. He thinks. He argues with himself. He finds reasons to wait. He asks the most famous question in all of literature: to be or not to be. It is not a question about suicide. It is a question about action. Is it better to endure what is wrong, or to rise up and try to change it, even knowing that try might destroy you? Every person who has ever known what was right and still could not act, that person is Hamlet. Every person who has ever thought themselves into paralysis, that person is Hamlet. The tragedy is not that he fails to act. The tragedy is that he knows exactly what he should do, and still he cannot. Hamlet has been performed more than any other play in history because he is the most modern of Shakespeare's heroes. He thinks too much. He sees too clearly. He is paralyzed by the very intelligence that makes him great. The world is not waiting for him to be ready. It moves on without his permission. In the end, the hesitation costs everything. Shakespeare understood something 400 years ago that we are still learning. Knowing what is right is not the same as doing it. Othello is one of the greatest soldiers who ever lived. Brave, noble, beloved, a man who has earned everything he has. And then one man, a jealous officer, begins to whisper. Just suggestions, just questions. Have you noticed how she looks at him? Are you sure she is faithful? He never proves anything. He never has to. The jealousy does the work itself. Othello begins to see evidence everywhere, because jealousy does not need evidence. It creates its own. And the greater the love, the greater the jealousy, the greater the destruction. Everything Othello has built, his honor, his marriage, his peace, crumbles from a whisper. Shakespeare understood that jealousy is not a weakness of small people. It is the shadow of great love, and it can destroy what it most fears to lose. We have all heard the whisper. Maybe we have been Othello, listening to a voice that told us to doubt what we loved most. Maybe we have been the whisperer, saying the word that we knew would find its mark. Shakespeare calls jealousy the green-eyed monster that mocks the meat it feeds on. It destroys not the enemy, but the beloved. The thing most precious is what it devours. 400 years later, every broken relationship, every friendship poisoned by suspicion, every family torn by a rumor, the whisper is still there. King Lear is the oldest of Shakespeare's tragic heroes, an aging king who decides to divide his kingdom among his 3 daughters based on how much they say they love him. His 2 older daughters flatter him extravagantly. His youngest daughter, the one who truly loves him, refuses to perform. She says simply, "I love you as a daughter should." It is not enough for Lear's pride. He banishes her. He gives everything to the flatterers, and they, having taken everything, throw him out into the storm. Shakespeare is brutal here. Lear does not lose his kingdom by accident. He loses it because he wanted to be told he was loved rather than to know it. He chose performance over truth, pride over wisdom. The storm that tears him apart, he made it himself. King Lear is the hardest of Shakespeare's tragedies to watch because it is the most familiar. Every parent who has chosen the child who flatters over the child who is honest. Every leader who has surrounded themselves with people who agree. Every person who has let pride turn away the one person who truly loved them and understood too late. The lesson is not that power corrupts. It is simpler and harder than that. Pride prevents us from seeing clearly. And what we cannot see, we cannot protect. Macbeth is a good man, a brave soldier, a loyal subject, a loving husband. He has everything, except the one thing he most wants. And then a prophecy gives him a thought. You shall be king. From that moment, the thought will not leave him. His wife pushes. He hesitates, but not for long. He takes one step. He kills the king. And from that one step, everything follows. More killing, more lies, more fear. Because the second step is always easier than the first. And the third, easier than the second. Until Macbeth looks in the mirror and cannot find the man who was there before. Shakespeare understood something about evil that we still do not want to believe. It does not usually begin with a monster. It begins with a good person, one opportunity, and the whispered thought. Just this once. These 4 plays, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, are not cautionary tales for other people. They are mirrors for ourselves. Shakespeare wrote them not to show us monsters, but to show us the monster that lives in every human heart, waiting for the right moment, the right whisper, the right opportunity. All 4 of these tragedies have motives. They are motivated by things we all feel, the need for certainty, for love, for recognition, for advancement. The tragedy is not that these men were weak. The tragedy is that they were human, and being human, they fell, as we all, in our smaller ways, fall. William Shakespeare died in 1616, 410 years ago. His plays have been performed continuously ever since, in every language, on every continent, in times of war and peace, by children and by old men, in grand theaters and in prison yards. Why? Because the questions he asked have not been answered. Because the flaws he mapped in 4 plays still live in the people reading this sentence right now. We still hesitate when we should act. We still let jealousy poison what we love. We still choose flattery over truth. We still take one step too far and cannot find our way back. Shakespeare holds the mirror. We are the ones who have to look into it.